Okay, we are going to start with the margins and padding. We finished with the borders, I think, last Monday. So today we are going to talk about margin and padding. Right. So when we came to the W3 school again, and then when we talk about margin, what is margin? This element has a margin of 70 pixels. So margin is just simple, but let me read it so that you can fully understand it better. The CSS margin properties are used to create space around elements outside of any defined borders to create space around elements. So here, is there any space? Here you see a space, right?
Yeah.
So what is it? It say we use the margin properties to create space around elements, right? So this is the space that you see here. Their margin, which is space outside any defined borders. So we have a border here, and outside of the border is what? Margin. I understand.
Mm.
Margins define the distance between elements border and the surrounding elements. Okay, so last time I think I tried to show you one of the project that we were doing, and let me see if I can recall it. It is, I think it's the CSS, right? Let me open it. I think it's this CSS. Yeah, I think it's this CSS. So maybe I can just open it from here. Maybe I can open a new window. All right. Open a new window. Then we can just take out the folder, right? Then go to the downloads, and then I take the CSS, right? So this is the CSS. Right. So let me show preview. Right. So this is what I was talking about. When we talk about margin, right? Any space around the border, it is margin, right? So let's take it as this content, it is our element. Understand? So this
Yeah.
content is our element. So we are talking about this. Let me put it down so that you can see it clearly. We are talking about this. What do you have? We have blue box, which is this. We have red box, which is this. And we have what? The content, which is this. Right? So
Yeah.
here we have div. This is the biggest one. That is the blue one, right?
Mm.
And we call it what? Container 0. And then we give a name and say blue box. This is this. So inside the blue box, we have red box, which is what? Also a div. We say container 1, which is red box, right? And then
Yeah.
inside the red box, we have content, which is the paragraph. Right. I hope you understand now.
Yeah.
So
But
you
the
understand?
color, how did you
No,
achieve
the
the
color
color?
we use CSS. I told you the last time.
Ah, okay.
This is
Okay.
this. So if you want to understand, we were talking about this. I told you this, right? So when
Yeah.
you are using dot is what?
Class.
Dot is a class. So when we go here, what is a class? Container 0 is class, right?
Yeah.
Right? So it
Mm.
means that we are targeting this. And we made a color to be Look at the background color is what? Blue, right?
Blue.
So the color is blue. You understand?
Mm.
But we can, in order for you to even understand it better, I think this one is okay. So the container one too has what? Background color red. And the paragraph, this is a paragraph, right?
Yeah.
That's what? Background color of green, which is this. So can you remember this? What is this selector? I told you we
Select.
have class, we have ID, and then we have what? There's another one we also have. What is this? We also have universal selector, and then we also have
Mm.
this. This is a
Pick.
one, another selector, and this one is another selector. So what are these?
They are
And so let's say this is a grouping selected. We are grouping this. You remember?
grouping. Yeah.
I told you, we can decide to group this. But
Mm.
this one, we are grouping it is only affecting the one we are targeting, which is the P. You understand?
Mm.
So this is P we are targeting. It means that what we are saying here, we are saying that we have container one, right?
Yeah.
And inside the container, we have P. You understand? So that is what it's talking about here. We have container one. Inside the container, we have P. So target the P.
Mm.
I hope you understand. So now it means that this one is just it is there as a guidance.
Mm.
And so to tell you or to make sure that, oh, this is where you are and you are entering here. So we are targeting. You can decide to even remove this container one and it will still work.
Mm.
But for clarity, we are just following this pattern because this is what container one, right? So we are saying that
Yeah.
when you follow the container one, you see container one, inside the container one, target P, go into P.
Mm.
And then I go into P and apply those what? Styles. You understand? So let's continue. So as I was saying, this is how we achieve the colors. I hope you don't have problem with this, right?
Mm.
Okay, so now you've
Yeah.
understood how we apply the colors here.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, okay, here. All right,
So
so
what
look at
about the top? The top color. Did you use a picture or something like that?
the top color.
The one that you design.
Yeah, we
The
use,
violet one.
yeah,
Use
it's
picture.
picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can even remember we did this
Yeah.
background image, right?
Mm.
So we did that too. Remember, where is it? Background, we added what? The image,
The image.
right? This is URL, and this is the image, right? And we
Yeah.
say no repeat,
Mm.
right? And we
Yeah.
say it will be centered. Understand? So this is the background image that we have. Yeah, apply. You understand? Background size, we say comma. So that is what you see here. But we are talking about the margin now. So let's continue with it. So as you've understood here, so what we are doing is, let's say that we are going to start here. And so we are inside the P content, right? So this is the P content, which is a paragraph, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now look at, we are talking about margin. And when you talk about margin, we are looking at the space around the border, right?
Yeah.
So if I am to target this green color and see that this is the paragraph, right? Where do you
Mm.
think is the margin of this? looking at what I explained, what about margin, what is margin? When you look, we are targeting this green box. Just target this green box. And I say, where do you think that is the margin of this green box?
The margin will be left and right.
I understand it will be left and right, but where? You understand?
Where?
Because what did I just told you here, look at CSS margin property are used to create space around elements outside of any defined borders, right?
Hmm.
So now he said we are creating space around elements which is outside of any defined borders. So now I have a border. This is the border. So let's say here, let me remove this color so that you can even see it clearly. Let me remove the background color of this. I remove the color of this. So now this is the border, right?
Hmm.
Now we can see the border. So now it is saying that CSS margin properties are used to create space around elements outside of any defined borders. So now if I say with regards to
So,
this,
meaning it is outside, like it started from the red box.
okay, so now you understand that. Now outside the border means the margin. So our margin is now here. So our margin is
Yeah.
now found within the what? The red box.
Hmm.
You understand now?
Yeah.
And then when we want to find the margin of this red box too, where is the margin found? If I remove
Oh, the
the,
blue. It starts
the
from blue
color of
box.
this. Okay, so if I remove the color of this, so you see that this red box too has a margin outside, which is can be found inside the blue one, the blue box.
Hmm.
You understand? So now, what about the blue box? If I remove its background too.
Hmm. The
Mhm.
white net outside.
Okay, so now it also what has border or a margin outside. So that is how you have to look at it. You understand? So now if I say where is margin, you see outside.
Hmm.
With respect to what I'm talking about. So now if I'm talking about content, you know that the margin is here, right? If I'm talking
Yeah.
about what red box, you know that if I'm talking about blue box, you know that margin is here.
Hmm.
You understand? So that margin. And also, if I'm going to the this place to inspect style, and then I'm going down to this. So this is what we call. Well, I told you I'll come to this, but that's the last time. But this is what I was trying to tell you. This place, the CSS box model.
Hmm.
You understand? So this is the CSS box model. This you see, we are in the styles, and I told you when you see something, we see style is what CSS, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the place that we are. So you know that now here is what elements, and these are what the element that we have. The element you can see them, right?
Yeah.
We have head, we have body, so all the structure are the elements, and the style is what? There's all the CSS. You understand? So here is the what I call the box model, and this is what I try to imitate here. You understand? So it's the same thing as here. So for instance, assuming this is our content, you see it is highlighting all of the content, right?
Yeah.
So when I come here, it is what? The padding. When I go here, it is the border. When I go here, it is the margin.
Hmm.
You understand? So in this design, we've set all the what? The margin and padding to 0. You understand?
Yeah.
So if you just want to understand the margin easy, you can just use this one. You see the margin here. Here's the margin because it is the outside of the border. So margin is outside of the border. And then when you come to the padding, we see inside of the border. How do you understand now?
Yeah.
See, this is margin. What is in between them is what? Border, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then we have padding. So in between them are what? Border. So if I say margin, you see margin, it is what? Any space outside the border.
Outside the
If I
border.
say padding, we say any space inside the border.
The border.
I hope you understand now.
Yeah.
So that is how margin padding works in the border. Because we already did the border, we look at the border style, the border color, we did that. So you already know most of the border color and how to apply them. And
Mm.
then now we are on margin. Also. So all these three are just the same way, just to understand how it works, where you can apply them, and which units should you use. You understand? So most of the time, it's just simple thing you need to know. It's not very complex, right? So that is what we call margin. So as I said, margin defines the distance between an element border, understand, and the surrounding elements. With CSS, you have full control over the margin. CSS has property for setting the margin for each individual side of an element. You can set it to top, you can set it to right, bottom, and left. You understand? And we also have a shorthand for setting all the margin property in one declaration. So what do you have? Even when we talk about the borders, we talk about the top, right?
Yeah.
You talk about the right, you talk about the bottom, left. Margin 2 also has this. Padding 2 also has. Understand? So
Mm.
always you have to keep it just a transfer of knowledge. When you learn something, you can just transfer it from here. Understand? Look at
Mm.
here how we apply the border style. We did the same thing. And here too, is say talking about margin top, right, margin bottom, margin left. And then
Mm.
you have the unit that you add, whether you have to use pixels, you have to use percentage. You
Mm.
understand? So all of these are things that we can add. You understand? So it can have the following values. You can make it auto. You understand? So the browser calculate the margin. So now you are leaving it auto. So now it depends to the browser to calculate the margin that it wants to add to because you left it auto.
Mm.
So you can use the length as we discussed, either pixels or other things, centimeter, whatever. They are fixed, so we don't normally use it. We use what? RAM, I understand. And then here is percentage. You can specify the percentage of the width of the containing element. But what about inherits? We have something called inherit. It specifies that the margin should be inherited from the parent elements. You
Mm.
understand? So it look at the parent element and what? And inherit that margin you apply to.
Mm.
You understand? Like something like inheritance. When somebody's parents died, they inherited their property, right? So that is the same thing. You inherit. So the child inherit the property of the parent. Negative values are also allowed. And so you can set
This like the parent, like I don't exactly understand what does it mean.
the parent.
Yeah.
We have parent, we have children. Okay. Look at this thing. Even the one I was explaining to you. So now this content, let me use this for now. because you understand it here and then the same thing as here. You have what? What is this? Paragraph, right?
Yeah.
Paragraph. In this condition, paragraph is the child,
Mm.
right? So we
Yeah.
move up. We go up and see div. We have div, right?
Yeah.
So this div is the parent of what? The paragraph.
Mm. Not.
You understand?
Mm.
And now this div here, as we say, the name is container one, is the child of this container zero.
Mm.
So now this one, this container zero is the parent now of this.
Mm.
You understand? And the
Okay.
grandchild or grandchildren is this content.
Mm.
You understand how it works now?
Yeah, I understand.
So when we see, I'll talk about parents. I'm talking about what the one which we have it like the main elements. And so when
Mm.
we are going down, we look at which element is inside. So that element inside is now what? The child. So just think of it as a box. You understand? You have a box, you put some box inside. And inside that box, you put another box inside.
Mm.
So the box which are inside are normally the children. And the main box is the father or the parents.
The parent. Okay.
So in here you say content is what? Is the what? The child of what? The red box. And red box
Mm.
is the child of blue box.
Blue box.
So when we are talking about in terms of like parents, we can just say that this one is the what? They are the grandparents,
Mm.
right? So this one is the parents, and this one is the children. I hope you understand. So
Yeah.
content father is this, and then red box father is this.
Mm.
So that is what I'm talking about. When you see I talk about parents. So now look at the inherit what specify that the margin should be inherited from the parents elements. So now
Mm.
if I write margin and I wrote inherit, it means that whatever the this blue box, which is the main parent has,
Mm.
if I set um, the margin of this content to be what inherit, this will inherit the what the margin of this. You
Blue
understand?
box.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So that is what is I'm trying to explain here. So you can set the different margin for all four sides of a P elements, as we did before. So you can make it margin top, margin bottom, margin right, margin left. When we were talking about a border, we were talking about border what? Border style. You understand? We were talking about different style of border. Border top, border right, border left. And this one too is also the margin top, margin bottom, margin right, and so on. You understand? And it also has a shortcut. You just write margin and you write the other um, sides. So the short code is it's possible to prepare all the margin property in one declaration. So you just write margin and then with this margin will what? Will take up all these four.
Mm.
You understand? So instead of using all these four, we just write margin 25 pixels, which is what margin top, 50 pixels, which is margin right, 75 pixels, which is margin bottom, and 100 pixels, which is what margin left.
Mm.
You understand? So you can just write it as just a single line
Okay.
like this instead of writing all of this. So as you see here in this example,
Mm.
you understand?
Yeah.
So mostly that is what margin is. So here, property, three values. So now here we discussed here. Can you remember what we said about if it is we have three values?
Yeah.
This one takes what?
Take the top.
This one is from okay.
We take the left and right. Hello?
This one will take what?
It will take
Okay, and then this one will take what?
the bottom.
Yeah. So that is how it is. So, and if it is two, this one will share top and
It will
bottom.
share from
This
top
one will
and
what?
bottom.
This one will be left or right.
Mm.
Yes. So that is how we apply. But what about if it is only one?
It applies to all.
It applies to all the four sides. So that is how, and this thing that you see, this thing that you see applies to all many properties. Understand? It applies to many. If it is margin, if it is padding, so you can just think about it as this. So mostly you don't see people writing this margin top, margin right, margin bottom. They'll just write margin and they just specify all this. If it is zero, you just put zero here. He doesn't want put number and then you just move on. You understand? Because it makes our code very easy and short.
Yeah.
So that is all what margin is. You don't need to know many. You just know that you apply the unit to it and the number, and that is it. It's there's nothing fancy about it. Understand? So you can set the margin property to, as I told you, auto. Understand? You can set it to auto, and then which one to horizontally center the element within its container. You understand? So for instance, if I want to center some element to be in the center of the container or each parent, for instance, look at here. If we inspect this, we have div here, right? In div, this div is this. It's usually this div will be, so you look at this, right? And then we have what? Paragraph. And then we have H2, which is this, right? So we look at the CSS, what they did in the CSS. They say div, right?
Yeah.
Div me, where are we targeting? Why are we targeting here? We say div.
The
So
body.
why the div? So now we are targeting this div, right? Then we set the width to be 300 pixels. So you see how the width is. From here to here is 300 pixels, right?
Yeah.
And then we set the border to be what? 1 pixels solid red, right?
Yeah.
So now if you could remember what is this border? Border what?
Border. Border side? No.
Border width. This is border
Oh,
width.
border width.
We are talking about thickness, right?
Yeah.
And then this one is what? Border what?
Border. This is border radius.
No. Border style.
Border style.
Because remember we talked about the style as what? Either solid or dash.
Or dotted.
Or dotted, yeah. So this one is the style. And this one is the border what?
Border color.
Border color. You understand? So you see that we use a shortcut of the border to achieve all this. So now if we set the margin auto, it means that the margin what would come out, the elements will be in the middle. You understand? Because initially the margin was here, it was set to default as being here. You understand? But when we set it to auto, it means that the browser will now put it in the middle. You understand?
Yeah.
Well, even if you go to the model, the one that I showed you, even if you look at this, the style here that I showed you, you look at it as this one is in middle, right?
Yeah.
It means that if you are going to follow that same rule, you see that here, when you set it to auto, here it will be on what? Middle. So that is what it's trying to tell you, that if you set the margin as auto, if it is inside the parent, it will be in the middle, like this.
Mm.
You understand? So now we can see that the border is the what? The body is the like the parent, the body. But this div is inside the body.
Mm.
You understand? Because all these H2, P, and div, all of them are children of the body. You understand?
Yeah.
They are all children of the body. So we get confused. You see what happened? It also came here, right? Can you see?
Yeah, I can see.
So when you apply this as auto, it takes what? The element to come in the middle.
Mm.
Understand? Yeah. So that's what it was talking about, the auto. It's the same thing when you apply to the margin. So sometimes whatever you see in the padding, it can also apply to the margin of padding, both of them. And you can set it inherit, as I told you. Look at this is what they did. You see, this is what div. This one is what? So now I set margin left to be inherit. Margin left of the parent, what was it? 100 pixels, right?
Yeah.
And then the P takes what? Say inherit. It didn't set any number, just say inherit. So I'm inheriting what? This 100 pixels. You understand?
So instead of writing 100 physics, then you would just write inherit.
Inherit, yeah. If you want the same value,
Uh,
you understand? For instance, here you just write the P. This is the P, right?
mm,
This is the P because this is the div, which is the parent, and now the P is the child or the child, right? So now, if div is a parent and you give the parent as what margin left to be 100 pixels, right? Then
yeah.
when you come to the child, you can just say inherit. So the child will inherit what 100 pixels.
Mm.
You understand? So that is how it is. So for instance, if I also just write something, it's just same thing. Don't need, even if I say section, copy this, and here I say section. C section, and inside this I put, maybe instead of P, I can just say span, or maybe just H1, right? You see H1. I can just say H1 like this. Then I'll target this. So now this, which one is the parent? Which one is the parent?
Which one?
Which one is the parent element now?
Mm.
Hmm?
Which one? The section? You mean the section?
Yeah, which one is the parent element here?
Oh, this thing, H1.
Parent element, parents. I didn't say child element, parents.
Are you talking about the body or
I'm talking
just
about
the
this.
section?
The one I
Yeah,
highlighted. I'm talking about this.
yeah.
Which one is the
Section.
parent?
Section.
Section. Okay. Now, if it is the parent is the section, then I can come here and say I'm targeting the parent, right?
Yeah.
Then I can give the parent what? A margin what? I can give the parent margin Instead of left, I can say margin right. Right? Can I give maybe pixels? Right?
Yeah.
And let me give you a border, another border here. Let me copy this border, use it here. And then now I'm going to target the H1, right? The H1 here, which maybe I can just write XH1. So I'm targeting this XH1. Right? I say class. Right? Then I give this one to A. I say margin right. So then if I write inherit, so now let me just run it for you to see. Now look at what is there. We are talking about this, right?
Yeah.
Now, in the section, which is the parent, I said margin right is 150. So this margin right is 150 here.
Mm.
And then when you look at the paragraph or the H1 inside, it's just a normal, understand? But
Yeah.
what about if I apply margin rights to be, instead of 150, I said I want you to be more than 150. Maybe if I say 200 pesos. Look at what happened.
Mm.
Understand? But what about if I say inherit? If I delete this and say inherit, what happened? You understand? Now it has inherited this box.
Mm.
Understand? But because you know that when you have tests, that test has to normally it has to fill all this section, right?
Yeah.
But the test, normally when you have some tests like this, it doesn't fill all the space because we said that normally the default test is set to left. Understand? So maybe I can just say test align. I can just set it to what? Either right, left, or center, or justify. So when I say justify normally make everything what? Set to longer. Understand? It fill all this. You understand? So based on this test, it inherits it what? Each parent what? Margin right to 150 pixels. I hope you understand now.
Yeah.
So that is what here is talking about. So can you answer this question? Drag and drop the correct value to set the margin. 10 pixels from top, 20 from right, 30 for bottom, and 40 for left. So let's go.
10,
10,
20,
20,
30,
20,
40.
20. Oh, let's see. This one is easy for me, right? So these are the other things that you can use. Can be
Yeah.
read and understand.
Mm.
So I think it's better we move to see margin collapse, not sometimes not all that necessary. Understand, but then so margin collapse is when two margin collapse into a single margin. And two margin collapse into a single margin. I don't normally see people using this. Understand? Top and bottom margin of element are sometimes collapsed into single margin that is equal to largest of the two margins. The margin collapse only happens when top and bottom margin, not left and right margin. So it normally what affect to top and bottom margin.
Mm.
So in the following example, it says the H H1 element has a bottom margin of 50, right? And the H2 element has a top margin of 20. So here we have bottom margin and top margin. So the vertical margin between H1 and H2 will be total of what? 70 pieces, right? Because we have what? 50 and we have 20. Right. But due to the margin collapse, the actual margin ends up being what? 50. So when you add margin collapse. Instead of having 70 pixels, you end up having what? 50 pixels. Because that is the H1 element for the bottom. So it's like it ignores this margin. Now it collapses and what? Only affect or only apply these 50 pixels. You understand? So when you look at it, this is how it looks. And mostly we don't normally have a lot of things on this. Understand? So it normally apply when you are designing if you want to use the collapse elements. But I don't normally see people doing that. But definitely you would like to specify the margin and padding. And then I don't think you use the collapse to, well, it depends on the designing that you are doing. So now you look at here, 30 to 30 pixels. So, but because of the collapse, it end up 30 pixels, meaning just taking only the first 30 pixels, which means this one is not counted because you use margin collapse, so it will take this. So just know that there is something we call margin collapse. It's okay, but no understand. We take what happens when top margin of one element and the bottom margin of another overlaps. Okay. So now it's trying to tell us maybe the importance of it. Or sometimes you have some margin which overlaps each other. You understand? So what do you think? The top margin of one element and the bottom margin of another overlaps.
I think
When they are
the
overlap,
two.
look at what we did here. Based on this, can we say is here? What did we take? We took 50, right? And what about here? Here we took 30, right? So depending on that, what we say here, because it's talking about margin of the elements and the bottom margin of another overlaps. If you overlap, are you going to take the larger one, or are you going to take the smaller margin, or both the margin are going to be ignored or added, or no margin is going to be applied?
I think the smaller margin value is used.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay, you said a smaller one. Let's see. Are you sure? Okay, let's see.
I
So what happened?
some
I just show you this one. I said, look at this one. It was what? Was it 50, right? And
yeah
this one was 20, right? So which one
yeah.
did it take?
It's added together.
It added together. Are you sure?
Yeah.
But read it and see. Will be total of 70 when you add them together, right? But what did you say? But
Due to magic collapse,
the actual margin end
end
up
up
being what?
being 50.
And 50 and 20, which one is bigger?
uh,
Huh? So what is the answer now?
the the larger margin. Yeah.
You have to be vigilant of anything that you read then, right?